wait, now we're getting to the Hebrew New Testament. All right, guys, pay attention. This is the exciting part.
Yes, he started translating the New Testament, and he did it from his Walton Polyglot Bible. That's a Bible which had Polyglot is a Bible where you have on 2 pages the same verses in in this case 7 languages.
Wow.
Yeah. So for the Walton, that is in Syriac, in Hebrew, in Arabic, in Greek, Latin, Ethiopic, and Persian. And they probably got it from the estate of the late Dutch Reverend. Although they bought books, Ezekiel Rahabi previously already bought books in Amsterdam. I think he started there also in 1740 or something. So he could have gotten it there. But this is what he had, and he wrote letters about this endeavor to the mission of Tranquebar, that's in the east of India.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the Hebrew part of this polyglot was only the Old Testament. There was not a Hebrew New Testament. So he started translating from Syriac to Hebrew, and he did that all by himself.
Wow. So Ezekiel Rahabi is translating the New Testament.
Yeah, he started with it. Yeah.
Wow. So let me just show this here for the audience, because I Googled here Walton Polyglot.
Yeah.
So it was published in London in 1655 to 1657, 6 volumes, and at least this version that's being sold on some website. And this is what it looks like. Yeah. Oh, very cool. And this is the book of Exodus. So here you have the translation of Onkelos in Aramaic, and then you have it translated into Latin, and then you have the Samaritan text, and you have the translation, I assume, into Latin of the Samaritans. Very cool. Here's the Latin translation of the Greek. Then here's the Hebrew. Oh, and then above each word in Hebrew. Oh, so that must have helped him. Because, oh, wow. And then here's the Syriac. And I think here's the Arabic. Okay. Oh, and then that has a Latin translation. How interesting. And and Syriac is a dialect of Aramaic, which is very similar to the Aramaic of the Babylonian Talmud. And so it's very possible that Rahabi was able to read this. I think I discussed that with Professor Barlan.
Yeah. He wrote about his language capabilities, and probably in priority of what he did well. And so what he spoke, of course, Malayalam, because that was the local language when it was spoken here. He spoke Hebrew, and quite good as well. And Portuguese, because he used Portuguese to talk to the Dutch. And don't ask me why he didn't learn Dutch, but he did learn Dutch. And he reported that he could speak Samaritan, Chaldean, Syriac, Tamil, and Telugu.
But so Chaldean means Aramaic. Okay.
And Telugu, that's a local language. And
Samaritan is a dialect of Hebrew, so that shouldn't be too difficult.
He reflected on his capabilities, and he found Portuguese a foul language. That was what was his opinion. And
everyone's a critic.
Tamil he could hear and speak, but he could not read or write. And the same about Telugu. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So he speaks Portuguese, but not one of the local languages, Tamil, but Malay. What is it called?
But Malayalam was the local language. Yeah.
Okay. So it was probably his native tongue, I would imagine.
Sorry?
That was probably his native tongue.
Malayalam. Yeah.
Although for my American audience, it's not unusual for people around the world to like the joke is the Swedish person says, I want to learn, a second language, and they're speaking in English, and they're like, what about English? No, that's one of my first languages. Right? Yeah. Like a lot of Europeans will speak 2 or 3 languages, and yes, there's the language they speak at home, but there might be a language they speak in the street, and certainly in an international trade hub like well, and particularly he's from a merchant family, he's going to speak multiple languages. He's got to. So, all right.
Yes, so that was not unusual. So his brother-in-law they were trading with different hubs. So his brother-in-law was trading with the Arabs. So he was fluent in Arab. Arabic.
So he spoke Arabic. And that makes sense if you're...
You have been listening to Hebrew Voices. To hear the rest of this conversation, head over to nehemiaswall.com and become a support team member today.